Everyone. Let me go ahead and pull up our deck for the day. So, I'm really excited to have you all joining us for our masterclass series, Planning for 2024. We have some amazing speakers on the line with us today. So, we'll start by introducing everyone. Looks like I forgot my picture on here. I am Samantha Turner. I am an enterprise client trainer. I'm going to be your MC for today's event. I do like caffeine. I love pumpkins. I'm not like a PSL person specifically, but all the things we talked about sounded good today. And I will have our amazing speakers introduce themselves. So we'll get started with Andy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andy Stone. I'm the Senior Manager of Customer Success here at Sendoso. And I hang on to my iced coffees as long as I can into the colder season of the year, but I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so that lasts pretty long. So I can get away with it pretty much year round, but excited to be chatting with you all today and share some cool stuff.
Love it. All right, up next, Casey.
Hi, everyone. I'm SVP of Marketing at Sendoso. I am an Earl Grey and hot cocoa person, but you're giving me courage to actually enter a Starbucks and order with more confidence. So thank you.
Amazing. Leaving with courage. And last but not least, we've got Katie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Penner. I am the head of sender relations at Sendoso. I am an energy drink girly. I'm a Red Bull girl. However, I do love fall because fall is orange in my brain and is Sendoso season. So, exciting stuff.
Yes, love it. All right, so looking at our agenda for today's session, I'm just going to go over a little bit of housekeeping. Our platform that we're using for our webinar is Goldcast. I just want to go through the basics so you all know how to use it. Then we'll dive into our topic, which is budgeting, which is a great time to talk about this as we're going into holidays and New Year and all the things. So we'll talk through best practices in budgeting from the lens or through the lens of sales, marketing, and CX. We'll have time for Q&A. And then we'll do a wrap up. We have a live giveaway at the end of this session. So please stay tuned for that. Very exciting, our vendor of the month. So that'll happen at the end in a little bit. Just want to quickly introduce you to Goldcast. That's our webinar platform if you've never used it before. On the right-hand side of the screen, you should see your engagement panel. There is a chat area. You guys were doing a great job using that already, talking about all the pumpkin things and spicy things. That is available at any point. We also have a Q&A tab. That's where we encourage you to put any questions. We're going to save questions today for the end of the session, just so we can make sure to get through all of the great content we have for you. So pop questions in the Q&A tab. We do have some polls, so you'll have access to that. That's on the right. And then the Docs tab is where all of your resources will live. Please check that out. We've got links to all of your help resources, our vendor of the month, ways to sign up for Sendoso Express, which is a great way to test out Sendoso. So definitely make sure before you leave today to check out the Docs tab. And we're going to get started with a poll for today. So I'm going to actually launch this poll for you all. I'd love to know, what is your role? Are you in sales? Are you in marketing, CX, something else? You can pop that into the chat. And we'll give you all a few moments to fill that out, and I'll monitor chat as well. Cool. Let's see how we're doing here. Looks like a large number of marketing folks, sales, CX, some additional things. So we've got kind of a good array. I'll give everyone just another couple moments to fill out the poll. Still marketing heavy. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to close this one out so we can get to know you guys a little bit more. Next question I have for you guys today is, how do you budget for sending? Department budgets, individual budgets, budget campaign requests, possibly all of the above. You can vote for as many as you want. Giving everyone a little bit of time to fill out this poll. Let's see what we've got going on here. Department budgets in the lead for this one. We do have some folks doing everything on the list. Cool, just a few more moments and we'll see where we're at. right. Looks like department budgets is taking the lead. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing all of your thoughts. We are going to start to dive in today, and we're going to be talking about budgeting best practices for sales development and sales. So I am going to turn it over to Katie.
Yeah, hey guys. So want to dive into some quick sales development and sales best practices. When you're using gifting, it's incredibly important to avoid bribery and instead look at gifting as this relationship building tool to capture attention, or to delight prospects as they move through the sales funnel. So, how do we do that in practice, right? We need to avoid wording like in exchange for your time, I'd like to send you X, and instead separate our company's value prop and the send offer within our emails. Right? So there's an example of this on the right side of your screen. Name, noticed company insight. X seems to be your team's focus. Do your reps ever struggle to X? Our company has helped company and company close that gap with solution. Worth a chat. P.S. Saw on your LinkedIn that you're into cooking. Wanted to send over my favorite cookbook. Confirm your address here. Right? Even though these thoughts are separated, the law of reciprocity still comes into play, just in a much more organic way. And then when we talk about gifting through the funnel, if you want to go to the next slide, there are 5 main points that we suggest for sending, right? Pre-demo to capture attention with things like low value physical gifts or e-gifts. And then post-demo, we suggest that the account executive send something that's very personalized. And using our Amazon integration is great here. It helps to build that deeper relationship with that prospective buyer. And it's also important to loop in other stakeholders early, right? On average, there are about 8 decision makers involved in every purchase. So by sending them gifts and looping them in earlier, we can push them through the funnel faster. Then, once we get into the validation phase, it's really effective to send a box of branded swag along with some ROI collateral to help push that deal to the close, where we can then send something to celebrate that new partnership, like champagne or some sweets. And now I'm going to hand it over to Casey to go over some marketing best practices.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to just caveat that teams and companies are different. You know, your ICP may be different than ours. And so the ways that you're going to approach budgeting and sending may be a little bit different based on you and your particular situation. So I'm not going to come in and tell you exactly what you should be spending because that would be silly. But I did want to give you some ideas about how we use sending and what good looks like to us. So one of the things we see fairly often is that marketing and go-to-market teams are sort of resorting to basic tactics like advertising, SEO, email marketing, and they might consider direct mail or sending a separate tactic or chat channel. And the best practice that we like to recommend is to actually weave sending in throughout all of your other tactics to make them more successful. We consider ourselves a multiplier, and that works for us on our marketing team with our marketing strategies as well. So some of the ways that we fold sending into our strategy are sending before and after events. We weave sending into our ABM multi-threading campaigns to make sure that we're getting in front of as many people within the buying committee as possible. We integrate gifts into our nurture flows and our emails to improve our open rates and response rates. We use gifting to move our stage 3 and 4 ops across the line, and get them into a buying stage faster, or accelerate that process. We also use sending a lot in our customer marketing to build our relationships with our customers. And we like to make sure that we're, fostering strong relationships that are not transactional, that feel valuable for our customers. And it's a great way to do that. And we also use sending in our advertising strategy, so to improve retargeting success, and to make our social ads more effective, we'll sometimes weave in gifting and sending. So we kind of use it as an amplifier across all of our different channels. And that's how I would recommend y'all doing it as well. It's much more effective than having sort of a separate one-off sending strategy. I was born the day before Halloween, so Halloween is my all-time favorite holiday. So I picked this example to share, but I also think food sends can be extra personal and just feel a little bit cozier and more special. So we wanted to share a holiday campaign that we ran with you all, where we targeted in-funnel decision makers with digital ads that we ran through 6 Sense. And we had 2 tiers, a Bloody Mary kit and a cookie tier. I love both of those. And our goal was to increase engagement with these accounts, influence pipeline, and make sure that we're sort of accelerating the process with these target accounts. So we ended up seeing a 63x closed won ROI, which we on our marketing team are very focused on our sales handoffs and the health of the sales funnel as a whole. So we're not necessarily just looking at passing through leads, we're looking at conversion rates throughout our funnel, and we look hard at our closed won rate and how we can help influence that. So it was a huge success for us. And then 3x engagement with our target accounts. We see that every time we engage through something seasonal or relevant or more personalized, that engagement goes up. And so this was a fun example. We're probably going to do something similar to this again this year.
Yeah, so I want to talk about these quarterly bundles. This was the first direct mail campaign that I ever ideated. And from my experience as an SDR, I knew that it would be beneficial for our team to be able to use these in things like email campaigns. But I wanted something that felt relevant for a while, but that we could pull from inventory. So these 4 bundles were on theme with the time of year. For example, the New Year, New Health bundle was full of branded fitness items and a set of bala bangles, which are the main item / nicer item of this bundle, with the messaging, build a healthy pipeline this year, right? There was also a tech bundle with this really cool wireless charging mouse pad that people really liked. The summer barbecue bundle with a slim can brewmate, because people have koozies, but not really for those slim cans. And then finally, we had a cozy winter bundle with a really nice candle and some other cozy branded items. And the messaging I really want to call out here was really creative and fun and got our prospects really engaged. If you want to go to the next slide. Now, these bundles resulted in a 26x and 25x ROI, and our prospects loved them. They posted on social about them, etc., and they were just really, really fun. So now let's get into individual budgeting.
So I will say to you all that we are probably an advanced version of budgeting for this, but our marketing team has about a $24,000 a month budget just for sending, because we integrate sending through all of our other marketing tactics. we do sort of, if you're starting out, I think a good number is $200 a month per person. But you really want to make sure that people aren't just sort of randomly ad hoc sending, that you actually have a strategy to weave that through and amplify all your other efforts with gifting, because that will increase the success of everyone's sends. And the more that you can make it seasonal, as Katie just mentioned, and sort of relevant or personalized, the better. But we do find that, and Katie will talk about this in just a second, you don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on a send to make it feel special. So our budget is a little bit bigger just because we do a lot of this, but it's not really high cost per send.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at the numbers, right, and the averages across all of our customers, here's what we're saying. Individual budgets per person on a marketing team sit at around $200 a month. When it comes to SDR average budget, same thing at $200 a month. And I do see that there is a question, what is ATL and BTL? So ATL buyers are your above the line buyers. These are typically your decision makers, right? So for us, that means VP and up buyers typically. Now, for BTL, below the line buyers, typically going to be director and below. So that's kind of how we refer to the different segments. But for these ATL personas, these decision makers, typically we see individual reps spending $30 to $50 on gifts for these personas. Now, that, just as Casey said, may kind of depend on your industry, who you're reaching out to, what range you're comfortable with, but that's what we see on average.
Gonna want to maintain like a 3-to-1 cost of acquisition, just as a marketing best practice. So you don't want to over tilt for like a commercial account, but when you're going after a decision maker above the line, those are people that are much harder to reach and get the attention of through normal tactics, or traditional advertising. So this is something that does move the needle. Sorry,
Yeah.
Katie, go ahead.
No, please jump in whenever you want. BTL personas, we see them keeping sends at $30 or less. And then when it comes to account executives, their average budget per person really varies. We're talking $300 to $500 a month on average. But again, this is very dependent on your ICP. If you have questions around best practices, what other people in your specific industry are doing when it comes to budgets, please reach out to your CSM and we can talk through that. Now, when it comes to when you're thinking about running a gifting campaign, there are some things to definitely keep in mind to make that campaign as successful as possible. So first, gifts do not have to be expensive to be effective, right? Bundling several inexpensive items with one main item, similarly to how we did with those quarterly bundles, makes for a great unboxing experience. 2, messaging is key, right? So even if the gift is small or inexpensive, let's say you're sending a plant, for example, wanted to plant the idea of connecting and find time to dig into your XYZ strategy, right? The messaging makes that experience delightful. Now, 3, choosing gifts that will ultimately live on someone's desk or gifts that are interactive lead to more memorable experiences. And then finally, evoking emotion from the gifts that you choose to send is crucial, right? So put yourself into your prospect or your buyer's shoes because people will remember how gifts made them feel, right? So with that being said, I'm not sure what the next slide is. I think we
I'm
are
going to chime in here
to,
and just say, because Katie gave a whole talk on that last point about how gifts make someone feel. And I think the effectiveness of whatever campaign or strategy that you're using this for is really dependent on you thinking about what is the reaction or the feeling I want to evoke versus starting with what do I want from that person. It makes it more successful if you think about what are you trying to make them feel on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I love all these examples. And my husband is a photographer, and he was working with someone or trying to partner with somebody, ended up sending them, it was like a $10 DoorDash gift card. And that person responded and was like, no one has ever done that before. And it was hugely impactful, built this great relationship that has budded into this, really cool partnership. So, like everyone was saying, a little can go a long way. And definitely the messaging can be huge. Like when I've gotten, even if it's like a $5 coffee gift, but somebody leverages a conversation that we had or something personal, they see my dog running in the background, they're like, hey, here's, something to get your dog a treat. Like it just like warms my heart, especially because, my dog is very special to me, even though sometimes he's on the chopping block. um okay, so before I turn it over to Andy to dig into some CX budgeting best practices, I did want to ask you all one other question. So budgeting can be challenging. What kind of gift you wish you'd receive while working on yours? Are you coffee? Are you lunch? Are you cocktail? Something else entirely? And you can put that in the chat. We'd love to see all the answers.
This is a great poll question. This one's fun.
Let's see how we're doing. Lunch in the lead, which I mean, it is like lunchtime-ish. A meal is helpful. Cocktail coming in strong second. Makes sense. We'll give you all another few moments and pop anything in the chat. Cool. Yeah, looks like lunch in the lead. Awesome. So let me go ahead and close out that poll. And Andy, I am going to turn it over to you to talk through some of the CX things, all the CX things.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Yeah. So when we think about sending post-sale in the CX world, maybe who we're targeting and the reasons for it may be a little bit different than those in sales and marketing, but ultimately the goal is still the same. We're still trying to foster and build and strengthen these relationships with our partners. And with some really targeted strategic sending, you can see a lot of success in CX to drive adoption, expand your reach within customers, and again, build long-term, productive, successful relationships with your customers. And this is something we see all over our customer base right now, is a renewed and amplified focus on retaining customers and expanding business across existing customer bases. So here are a few things that we see work really successfully in that CX sending world. So first off, very popular sending tactic is leveraging gifting to celebrate those customer milestones, those points throughout the customer journey that you feel lead to a successful relationship that you want to celebrate with your customers. So common ones include completing onboarding journey, going through an EBR, and of course, a renewal, a celebratory bottle of champagne as that customer renews on for another year or several years is always a great way to show that you value that partnership, that you're invested in it, and again, to continue to foster and build that really strong relationship with your partners. We also see sending in CX as a really good way to engage in key initiatives. What are the types of behaviors? What are the other things that you want your customers to be participating in with your brand? So the example on the right here is a great one, is driving towards getting G2 reviews. This is something we get asked about all the time. How can I get my customers to participate in surveys, leave reviews, those sorts of things that can help spread a positive message and story about your brand story. CX can play a key role in doing that, and tying gifting into that to motivate that type of behavior is really great. Beta programs is another fun one. You want customers to be engaged in the innovation of your product. So leveraging some gifting as an incentive or as an thank you for participating in those programs really help deepen that relationship. I think there's also a great opportunity post-sale for using gifting to drive awareness as your company changes, as you release new products, new features. Maybe you've got new branding that's coming out. You're changing. Companies are always evolving, and leveraging gifting as a focal point to highlight those really pivotal moments is just a great way to put your logo and your story front and center with something that's going to be really memorable, something that's going to be fun. People are going to remember that you sent them something and be excited to learn more about what you have to say and engage with those new changes with your company. And finally, and perhaps most commonly, I see in CSMs leveraging personal one-to-one gifting to strengthen those ties with their key stakeholders and their contacts. And this can take a lot of different forms. So celebrating promotions, little birthdays. If you mention somebody's going to be maybe taking a vacation or going traveling, sending them a little gift card to say, hey, get coffee on me as you head to the airport. Those little things just can improve the sentiment of those folks and show that you're not just a customer and a vendor relationship, but that there is a personal rapport there. People remember that and they'll come back to that. And that can really break down some barriers and help open doors with your existing customers that you've got and even finding new contacts for expansion along the way. And then another fun one, I think, is celebrating funding rounds. So encouraging CSMs and folks in CX to keep an ear out for when their customers are getting investment or going through an IPO. Those kinds of things are a great focal point to send a celebratory gift and show that you're paying attention, that you're invested in the health and success of their business and their stake in it. So those are a few of the examples that we see used for really successful sending in CX. But let's move ahead to talk about how we actually budget for executing on these. So for most of what I'm going to describe here, this is for one-to-one. So think of arming your CSMs or potentially AMs or even customer support folks. Across our customer base, average monthly budget for CX senders is right around $200. So not that dissimilar from an SDR or marketing persona. If we want to extrapolate that out over the course of a year, if I've got 10 CSMs, you're looking at about $24K per year if I want to think of an annual budget for CX in this particular use case. But one little tip that I'd recommend is leveraging our budget reset functionality. So rather than giving everybody $200 each month, this can help you do a more efficient allocation of your funds. So if one CSM, for example, only spends $150 in 1 month, they only get $150 replenished back into their account rather than the $200. So you're basically refilling the account based on what each user is using on a monthly basis. So I think that that's a nice little way to refine and drive efficiency with budgeting for individual users. And then this next bit is going to sound obvious, but I think once you see the numbers behind it, it can really show that a little bit can go a long way. So what I've got here are some redemption rates for gifts of different values in CX. And as you see, as we increase the value, the redemption rate and the engagement increases pretty drastically. So if we go up to, from $10 to $20, we see a significant increase. We go all the way up to 100, we're up at over 81% engagement rate. So if you want to make sure that your customers, your stakeholders are engaging with the gifting programs that you're executing, it can pay off to send a little bit higher value gift because that's going to grab their attention, and they're definitely going to want to open that e-gift or sign up to receive a cool kit or whatever it may be. So those are a few tips in terms of how we think about budgeting for individual users and actually the value of the gifts that we should be sending in the CX world.
Love it. That's awesome. And I love kind of thinking strategically as you're talking about these redemption rates of, we talked about BTL and ATL and thinking about, if you're looking at someone who's really, part of a target account or someone you're really, trying to get them to respond, engage, sign a deal, all those things, you could think about pushing your budget a little bit in those cases. So these numbers are really cool to see. Next, Katie is on deck to talk about how to think through ROI.
Yeah, so ROI and figuring it out, right, in preparation for this and kind of how we think about it is with this calendar or with this calculator, right? So for email-based campaigns, for example, that doesn't integrate gifting, let's say you're reaching out to 100 targets. The average across the board reply rate of sequencing and email messaging is 4%. And here you're spending $0 on gifting. Your average ARR is $10K. So you can expect to generate about $40,000 of pipeline from this email campaign, right? Whereas on the flip side, with that same email campaign, but with gifting integrated throughout, your reply rate boosts to 20%. You're spending $10 per gift on those 20 people that responded. So you've spent $200, but 20 people at 10K ARR, and you've created $200,000 worth of pipeline versus the $40,000 without. So if you're trying to figure out how to think through ROI of a prospective campaign, you can play with this sort of calculation. Now, you may be wondering, right, where does that 20% reply rate come from? That is from our sequencing. I am going to put a link to an article that details how we were able to raise our reply rates to 18 to 26% in the chat for all of you. All the templates, the layout, everything is there for you guys as well.
So cool. Always love a template to walk me through step by step. All right, so what I would like to do is open things up for some Q&A. You guys have got these experts on the line. You're burning questions. You all are from different teams. So, depending on where you're coming from, you can address your questions to one of our experts. I'm going to dive into the questions that have come through already. There were some questions around the deck. We will be able to share that out. There will also be a recording of this. So if you want to, take a peek at it again, if you want to share it with your colleagues so that they can gain the intel. Someone posted liquid lunch, which is amazing. It's a combo of lunch and the cocktail. Okay, so a question we had come in. How do you think through budgeting for recurring campaigns? Deal acceleration, for example. Any takers on the expert panel?
Katie, I'll let you chime in if you want to also, but we do a lot of this. So we have a sort of $24,000 a month bucket for the team, but that's actually segmented out into like across specific evergreen campaigns, and then we have a bucket that's just for sort of, it's like a special bucket for the things that we need to pull from as they come up. So if you know that you're going to have sort of an evergreen program running, it can help to like segment out and bucket out your sending spend according to the different like recurring programs you've got, and then give yourself sort of a slush pile for stuff that comes up, because it will, and you'll identify things that are seasonal or timely that you're going to want extra budget for. So I don't think having all of it allocated is a good idea, pre-allocated. You're going to want a little bit of a slush fund.
Awesome. So next question we've got is, what is the best touch point for a CX send? And I'll ping that to Andy.
Yeah, I think that probably like the easiest when we think about low hanging fruit in CX is probably onboarding completion or like immediately post sale. That's probably where we see the most common, like new customer welcome kits, I think are sort of a foundational cornerstone send for CX. I think renewal is probably another common one, but ultimately it's going to depend on what your customer journey looks like. We want to highlight the most important moments that lead to success amongst your customers. That's where we should have gifting tied to. Similar to what Katie and Casey were mentioning, we want to think of gifting in CX not as a separate tactic or channel, but something that we can weave in with the existing programs and initiatives that we have to focus on what that customer journey looks like and what's ultimately going to lead to success with that customer.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you guys have follow-up questions, feel free to post those in the chat and the Q&A. We did have a question. Was that example using Marketo or Outreach? And
Outreach. That example is with Outreach, but the same calculator can apply for Marketo campaigns. What we've seen is that people, I think we get, higher reply rates from that one-to-one outreach, and then we're able to really kind of expand our influence when we're allowing the SDRs to kind of choose who they're nominating for these campaigns. So we work really closely with them, and that specific example and that sequence that is in the article that I dropped, that is through Outreach and a partnership with our SDR org.
Awesome. And Katie, I'm going to keep you on deck for this next question. Any tips on increasing sending adoption of sales teams?
I love this question. Absolutely. Emily, I would say that you should reach out to your CSM and get a call with your team and myself scheduled. We have sales team trainings where we really talk about like tactical advice and how to implement gifting. And some of the quick tips that we talked about today, we really elaborate on those. So would love to run a session like that for your team, even run a Sendoso sponsored spiff to get them really excited to implement and adopt the tool. So definitely follow up with your CSM on that. Happy to do that.
And I'll chime in there. I do a lot of training for sales teams as well. And one of the things I found to be really successful with the teams I work with is having like regular Sendoso meetings post training. So some companies have like a power hour for Sendoso, or they've called it like a Sendoso soiree, where they get together, say like once a month, and they have a campaign they're working on, or they all just get together and talk about, successful sends, just something to like keep the energy going, collaborate, and like, keep that momentum going. All right, next question. Are you weighing the accounts each AE has? I'm wondering if that's kind of going towards Andy.
I think if I can interpret that question, are we thinking about like if AE's book of business is segmented and allocating budget differently? Certainly something that we see. Again, if you're targeting larger customers, depending on who that ICP is, we do recommend, again, sending potentially more valuable gifts to that, which would lead to a higher budget for that set of reps. So it kind of depends on how your business and how your teams are organized. So it could be one size fits all. It could be something that's broken out a little bit more based on the team or industry or size of customer that you're targeting.
Awesome. Another question is, how do you prepare for a target of 100 when you know reply rates are much lower? It feels wasteful to have built 100 in inventory if you know only roughly 30 will accept, but you cannot send to more than your inventory.
Yeah, so Katie, I would suggest to lean heavily on marketplace for these kinds of campaigns, because then you're able to just send one off, right? And then if you are talking about swag campaigns, right, where you're, let's say, I don't know, giving a swag bundle like those quarterly bundles that we talked about, how we did that was we essentially released a sequence to our SDR org. They were adding people in, and once we got low on inventory, we kept track of it and just made sure that we weren't going to go over that number. So I think it's just kind of keeping an eye on things. But if you're going to do a campaign to 100 people, I would lean on marketplace there. Hopefully that helps.
One thing I'll also add, I've seen customers do campaigns of this nature in waves. So you take your top 100, see how many, accept from there, and then having a secondary list ready to go as soon as that first sequence goes through, then offering that to kind of the next tier down. So you can continue to reuse and try and resend to go through that if you do want to focus on an inventory-based send. So just another idea for that particular problem.
Great point. Totally agree.
Awesome. Another question is, how do I get my SDRs to send more programmatic?
Yeah, I mean, so same kind of answer here. Like, reach out to your CSM. We have a ton of training resources. We have courses now that are about to become live for SDRs to get certifications on how to send and how to do it effectively, right? So reach out to your CSM. We can definitely help there and get your SDR set up.
Amazing. Yay. Good call out for a certification program. Another question is, can you share more details on how the Halloween campaign was run? I imagine since Halloween is coming up.
Yeah. I will also mention, because I feel like it's necessary, that we have some really cute vampire donkey llama pinatas that I am going to be using. We are using in some of our Halloween outreach. You should check them out. But yeah, so this was what I would kind of classify as an ABM campaign. So we use 6 Sense to target open opportunities with display ads. Display ads went to a landing page landing page allows you to request the kit of your choice. And if you fill in the form, we add you to the buying committee. So we're basically multi-threading and expanding our influence within the buying committee. You can also do this with, if you're using 6sense, we also do this with just like in market. Everyone who's in market will target with display ads and send them to a landing page. So you can do it for net new, and you can do it to accelerate or increase your influence across the buying committee for ABM for larger accounts.
Love it. And another question in terms of adoption, I have people that send a lot and people that send a little. How can I increase the lower senders? Any tips? I actually have one for this because I work with a lot of senders and deal with adoption quite frequently. I would have those people that send a lot connect with the people that send a little. I find a lot of times people are either apprehensive about sending because there's, some sort of barrier where they're thinking like, oh, I'm going to be bribing someone, or how do I handle my budget, or, just these things that are blocking them. Or maybe they tried it once and it didn't, go the way they wanted it to. Having the people that have success share those stories with people that are sending less, maybe more reluctant, is hugely helpful. I always encourage the teams I work with to collaborate as much as possible. I find that's one of the keys to like getting teams to use Sendoso. As Casey was mentioning, like all of our clients are different. So all of your use cases, the things that will work for your organizations, the messaging, the types of gifts, those are going to depend on your business, your needs, your goals. So definitely that collaboration. But anyone else, feel free to chime in.
I would also say we, this built in because this is what we do here, but we have a culture of celebrating this internally. And so, I might suggest just using your folks who are sending a lot and their successes and the results that they're getting and showcasing that across the team, in the company even, or the departments, depending on your situation, because that inspires other people and they can see like a templated example and the results, give them a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like another thing that isn't talked about enough when it comes to Sendoso is the opportunity that it gives leadership to run really fun spiffs internally too. So you could run a spiff for whoever sets the most Sendoso meetings within the next month, right? We've done spiffs like that internally that have increased qualified meetings year over year by 60%. Right. So there's some really fun things that you as a leader can do to encourage not only Sendoso adoption, but goals in general. So something to consider as well.
Love it. I think we have one more question in the chat. Do account management renewal teams use Sendoso much? Any best practices for budgeting for them?
Yeah, I can field that one. So I think that this is actually in many ways a hybrid of what we talked about with regards to sales and AE users, as well as the CX side of things. So in terms of how much to budget, I think this is most closely going to align with the recommendations we gave for the AEs. So that 300 to 500. As far as when to send and why to send, that's going to be an overlap again of some of the best practices I shared with regards to CX in terms of the relationship building and those key customer moments throughout their journey, as well as some of the more prospecting and sales acceleration and pipeline movement plays that Casey and Katie mentioned as well. So there's, I think, kind of overlap in both worlds when it comes to those account management and renewal focused sending best practices.
Awesome.
The other thing we'll do, I'll just add, is from our bucket of marketing budget, because we are also accountable for the full funnel. We don't just do, marketing's not just accountable for MQLs or net new business here. We're trying to accelerate the entire funnel and make sure that renewals and expansion happen as well. We will allocate pieces of our marketing budget, of our sending budget, to help account management and renewal team, or to help the SDR team, and we will partner and collaborate across those campaigns. So that's something you could consider as well.
Awesome. Let me double check to see if we had any other questions come through. Looks like we are good. I will encourage you all again to go to that Docs tab. Sendosa University has all of our online courses. I have our help center as well, which is like the step-by-step guides, all sorts of resources. We will be again sending out the recording, and reach out to us if you have further questions. You've got our experts here that have all the good thoughts, but we are always, of course, available for anything additional that comes up. What I would like to do next is take a final poll, which is, I'm wondering if you all have found this session to be helpful. This poll is anonymous, so please give us your honest feedback. We want these to be as effective as possible. There's actually going to be a survey you'll be sent after this to give us more feedback, but let us know if you're feeling like this is beneficial for you and your teams. While you are filling that out, last things that we'll be doing for today is wrapping everything up. And then we have our live giveaway for our vendor of the month. So I'll let y'all just finish filling out that poll. And then I will go ahead and get ready for some excitement. All right, thanks everyone. And close out that poll. Okay. So to wrap things up for today, some of the key points we want to make sure you are taking with you when it comes to budget, a little can go a long way. We talked about that several times. Just think about anything you've gotten that may be, not a huge dollar value, but that can be really impactful. Even e-gifts that may seem smaller and may seem easy to send, they can be so meaningful when somebody's like, oh, I just need that coffee, or, here's a little something so I can get a meal. And then messaging as well, whether you're talking about, smaller dollar value gifts or something, on the larger side, tying your message as much as possible to the person you're sending to, the reason you're sending, something you've noticed, relationship building. We talk so much at Sendoso about making those human connections and breaking through all of that digital noise that's going on. So messaging does matter. And then focus on your relationship building that kind of ties into the whole messaging, and just making sure you're thinking through humanizing your relationships and connections with people. You can see we've got a banner at the bottom of the screen today. So register for our next month's session. We have actually a couple coming up that are timely for all the holidays. Our survey will be coming out. We love your feedback. We want these sessions to be as effective as possible. And so we want to hear from you guys what you're looking for. All right, so the moment that I know I've been waiting for is the giveaway. So I'm going to ask Austin to come out from the abyss and go ahead and spin the wheel.
Hey everyone, super excited to talk about this month's vendor of the month. Is some beautiful candles. As we come into this fall season, we were talking pumpkin spice lattes earlier, it's candle season as well. So it's a perfect gift to come into. We have these and many other candle vendors available on our marketplace, so you can send them instantaneously. I wanted to list some days here for sending. First day of autumn, literally days away. International Coffee Day, Oktoberfest. I feel like that is the entire month of October and even further. So we have some really cool beers and things you can send in the marketplace as well. Golf Day is Friday the 13th, Scary, Bosses Days, and of course, as talked about a few times, Halloween. So some great days coming up, but next we're going to jump into our Wheel of Names. I got to figure out what I need to share here. There you go. Should be showing up. Awesome. So, wow. We are going to click to spin. The winner will be winning the vendor of the month, some amazing candles. Oh, Haley. Congratulations, Haley. Keep an eye on your inbox. I'll be sending you an address confirmation link later this afternoon. Congrats.
So exciting. Nice work, Haley, on winning the wheel. All right, well, that is going to wrap up our presentation for you all today. I want to thank you so much for your time over your potential lunch break, depending on your time zone. Please do sign up for our future sessions. Jump into that Docs tab before you hop out, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much.
See you all.
Bye.